Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with my colleague Mary Gamba. Mary, it's 3:11 in the afternoon. We've been taping all day. Where does the energy come from?
I am fired up. I have on the list today, I was going to ask you, I still think we could have done one more complete show at the end of this day. So I don't know, I'm fired up.
Speaking of fired up, we fire up the conversation, which is a terrible segue, with our good friend Mark Sparta, who's the president of the North Region Hackensack Meridian Health. Good to see you, my friend. How you doing, Mark?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good. All right, let's get right into this. Mark and I have had more offline conversations that he would rather have. I'm always calling him for advice or some issue that's going on, and we've been working together for years. Mark, biggest, I don't want to say change, but in the post-COVID era, March 2025 would be 5 years, biggest change, evolution, whatever the heck you want to call it, in you as a leader in healthcare is? Finish that.
It's how we actually take care of our people. Our team really suffered during the challenging times of the pandemic, and it became readily apparent that we needed to focus on our team as well as the patients that entrust their care to us.
How do you think it changed you as a leader?
I really think it made me stop and think a little bit about, our team members as people. They're here obviously to carry out duties that we pay them pretty well for, but I think it's really important that we consider them as people. The stressors of everyday life, the impact of the pandemic, which we see so many mental health issues that have come out during the pandemic from isolation and the fact that, people weren't able to socialize as much. We really wanted to create an environment at Hackensack Meridian Health for our team members to be able to come to work with purpose, to come and enjoy work, and create an environment that actually made them want to stay at Hackensack Meridian Health.
One more quick follow-up before Mary jumps in. So early on in the pandemic, as the leader, the president up at Hackensack University Medical Center, you're not a clinician, and P.S., your background, physical therapy, right?
That's correct.
But you were very close to the front lines of where your clinicians were right there with patients. Remind folks, even though for some they'd like to forget it and it's ancient history, but it's not, what the heck was it like?
So I can only imagine, because I'm not a veteran, but I can imagine that it's similar to a war zone. Our team members left their families, came to work every day, put on a tremendous amount of personal protective equipment. There was a lot of unknowns because no one really had any experience with this virus, and put themselves at risk, at personal risk, and sometimes maybe even put their families at personal risk because no one knew what they were taking out of here when they went home. Everyone took every precaution that they could think of, but you just didn't know, and I think that was the most stressful piece of it. I'd walk our halls and our units each and every day, and I'd see people who we worked together for 25 to 30 years, and I see them and not even recognize them except for when they turned around and the piece of tape across their back with their name on it was how we identified each other, because we had so much protective equipment on. It was a scary time, and it's not something anyone will ever forget who actually lived through it here.
And the reason I share that, Mary, is because for those of us who, our lives changed a bit, and we started to be able to broadcast remotely. But think about it. We were able to just continue on and do our thing. And those folks are on the front lines. And too often we forget that and do not honor them the way we should. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead, Mary.
No problem, Steve. Thank you. So, Mark, let's pivot a little bit. Artificial intelligence is all over the place, and you can't turn on a TV station, open up a newspaper, go to social media without hearing it. How do you believe artificial intelligence is going to impact healthcare in terms of the future and the lessons? And are we opening up a Pandora's box where it could become dangerous in healthcare? Would love to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. Thanks, Mary. I think it's an exciting time in healthcare, full of opportunity. I think that AI brings a new innovation to us where we can implement it. We can hopefully get some economies of scale. We've all been challenged since the pandemic with workforce shortages. And I think that AI can kind of help us with a number of tasks that we're used to performing manually or we needed people to do. While at the same time, I think it can really positively impact the lives of our communities. It can help in early detection of disease. It can help us treat people more specifically with personalized medicine. There's endless limits, and like any other new technology, there's got to be controls. Sometimes the best types of discoveries end up being challenging and could have some negative impact. So I think it's important that there are controls placed around AI.
But along the same lines, Mark and I had a one-on-one conversation at the Meadowlands 2040 conference with our friend Jim Kirkus, who put it together with the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce. We had this conversation one-on-one, Mark, in front of a great audience there of thought leaders. You're not afraid of AI. Concerned, guardrails, but not, oh my God, AI. It doesn't freak you out.
No, I think, we could have a healthy sense of skepticism and concern, but like most things in life, if you deny that they're actually happening and they happen to you, you don't necessarily get to play a role and shape how it evolves. So I think it's important that we embrace AI. It could be a really powerful tool to help us reach communities that are underserved and really improve health equity. While at the same time, we have to respect it too.
That's right. Like we could ever stop these phones. It's not just that they're good; it's that they're in our lives, and it's a question of how we use it. Go ahead, Mary.
Steve, Mark, as you know, Steve and I lead a physician leadership academy in partnership with Hackensack Meridian Health. And I always smile after those evenings. Of course, we do these in the evenings via Zoom, just like this, because our physician leaders are located throughout the state. And one topic that continues to come up and which is fascinating to us is wellness, because we just talked about COVID. We're coming up to the 5-year anniversary of COVID and the pandemic. But talk to us a little bit. I know you talked about you walk the halls and you were there and you like to build leaders up in your team. But how do you instill that wellness is important to each and every one of your physician leaders, your nurses, your staff, everybody across the organization? Talk about wellness.
Sure. First, kudos to you and Steve. We've seen really a tremendous impact on our clinical leaders, our physicians who have gone through that program. So thank you for really bringing Hackensack Meridian and our physicians to the next level. In terms of wellness, it became really, really apparent to us during the pandemic that all the things that we had learned in the first 25 plus years of our careers didn't really apply. It used to be when we all started our careers that coming to work when you weren't feeling well was a badge of honor. Well, we didn't want people who weren't feeling well to come to work because with the pandemic, there was a huge risk that they would potentially infect our other team members and compromise our ability to care for the community. So it was kind of a complete flip of everything that we had ever learned through our careers. Especially important that we allow our team members to have mental health breaks and encourage them to take their vacation time, because it's just so important for folks to be able to kind of recharge their batteries and come back rejuvenated. Burnout was a huge issue because they were taxed so significantly during the pandemic. And, we saw a lot of people leave the profession. In fact, many of our caregivers, nurses especially, who maybe were in their mid to late 50s and had planned to work another 5 to 7 years, after they made it through a year or two of the pandemic, they retired or moved on to different professions. So I think it's really, really important that we as a system, we as a field in healthcare, understand that it's very stressful to take care of people who are experiencing illnesses. And if we don't take care of the caregivers, then we're just going to continue to churn caregivers, and we'll always be challenged from a workforce standpoint.
And Mary, as you always say, what do they say on the get on an airplane? Put what on first?
Put on your own oxygen mask before helping others around you.
Well
That's
said.
exactly
More
right.
important there before. Mark Sparta, the president of North Region at Hackensack Meridian Health, where we're proud to lead, facilitate, and work with your talent development team as part of the HMH Physician Leadership Academy. It's been an honor for us. Mark, thank you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you both. Good to see you. Take care.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates, Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Shoes New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
At Delta Dental, we do more to make benefits easy to implement, use, and understand. It's why businesses large and small trust us to keep their employees smiling. Year after year, we make our clients and members happy with unmatched expertise and great dental benefits. We apply our decades of experience to give you more guidance, providing plan design options and cost-saving measures. With reliable support for you and your employees, we make administration effortless and free up your time so you can focus on other business needs. We even do more for vision care with Delta Vision. Choose Delta Dental and discover what the power of more can do for your business and your employees.
Back again with my colleague, Mary Gamba, here on Lessons in Leadership. Mary, you saw the interview? Actually, you produced the interview that I did with my sister.
I saw it, I lived it, yes. And it's a topic that you and I have talked about all the time.
Yeah, I did an interview with my sister, Michele Adubato, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the North Ward Center, an organization my dad created in 1970, a community-based organization in Newark. And also, she's the founder of the Center for Autism. So I talked to my sister, Michele, Mary, a lot about the question of, is everyone a leader? Does everyone need to be a leader? Or can people simply stay in their lane and wait to do what they're told? What should people expect in this conversation?
Yeah, people should expect a great conversation with you and Michele. She gives her thoughts on where people need to be. And it's funny because you could tell she went back and forth the same way that I've thought in some ways, that you need to have some doers. You need to have not necessarily followers, but people that will get on board and be part of a team. But she also then reiterated the fact that even those individual team members also need to be leaders in their own right, because you do need to think for yourself and step up and do the right thing. So it's a great interview.
So to be clear, we need implementers, get stuff done. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean those people can't call a timeout and say, hold on one second. I'm not convinced this is the best way to do it. I saw an issue or a concern or a problem, and I want to call a timeout and call an audible. The organizations that have a culture that says, no, just keep going straight forward and do what you're told, that's a dangerous organization, and that's a dangerous leader. That's it.
That's it.
So Mary and I have been talking about is everyone a leader? Mary's view has changed on it. This is my sister Michele's view on it, which is interesting. Why do you think it's so difficult for so many of us, and I'll say us, who create organizations, lead organizations, to create a succession plan that we are no longer the leader, that we have to hand the ball off? Got to take it, hand the ball. I got a lot of props here, Michele. You hand the ball off and you prepare people to take over. You say?
As a founder of an organization, And yes, I run the North Ward Center, and I'm proud to run the North Ward Center, but I founded the Center for Autism. And that's all I think. One of the major things I think about is what's going to happen when I'm gone, is that you don't own it.
Hold on, not only when you're gone, Michelle, don't even say when you're gone.
When I'm done, when this is, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
It's not ours. That's where I think people make a huge mistake, especially if they're nonprofits or any business. Who does it really belong to? Okay. And I don't look at it, I guess, the way other people look at it, like it's mine. Okay. It's ours. Okay. I have a responsibility to make sure that the North Ward Center continues. I have a responsibility to make sure that the Center for Autism is as strong as it was when I founded it. And if I don't do that, I'm being irresponsible. That's how I feel about it. I'm irresponsible.
But Michelle, I'm going to push back a little bit. Everything you're saying makes perfect sense. And let me disclose the North Ward Center, a longtime underwriter of our programming, particularly in the field of autism awareness. But let me try this. The Caucus Educational Corporation, our not-for-profit production company, celebrating 30 years. So I created it with a bunch of people, right? Some of whom not with us anymore, not working with us. We have this great team. How could I separate myself? You said it's not for us.
Because you didn't create it on your own.
Not at all.
You didn't. No, you didn't. Just like our father did not create the North Ward Center on his own. Okay. You were able to do this with the help of many people. Yes, True. It was your initiative. Just like it was my initiative to start the Center for Autism. I absolutely could not have done that without the people that were around me. And I think that's the key.
Hold on. I'm going to push back on this way. In this way, everything you're saying makes perfect sense, logical, it's rational. But I'm dealing with the person to actually say we separate ourselves and our ego, our self-esteem.
Yes, it's ego. It's ego. Maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know.
Oh no! Don't do that. Seriously, you think that's uniquely male?
I think that when it comes to responsibility and when it comes to looking at certain organizations, and again, I'm going to look at it just from a nonprofit standpoint, is that the fact of thinking that it's yours, it's not yours. Okay. It's not mine. Okay. There's a board of directors. There's funding that goes from, and there's guidelines with that funding. Right. And I honestly, that's how I feel about it. It's not mine. Yes.
But you're personally invested.
Yes. I leaned in to doing it. I took that risk. Okay. And I said, we're going to do it. You always need that person, leading the charge. But you said something in this really wonderful book. Okay. And it says, you said about people are everybody leaders, and it says, I'm not going to wait until the boss tells me. I'm going to take initiative. Those kind of people, if you have, those people around you and you are able to do what you do, that's what makes success. And that's how I did the Center for, how I founded the Center for Autism and how I continue to run the North Ward Center. It's not mine. I love it. I love what I'm doing. I'm so proud and I'm so honored to be doing it. But I look at different people and go, what about this person? How can I help this person? Does this person fit into the future of our organization? That's something I think we absolutely have a responsibility.
But hold on, go back to the Is Everyone a Leader thing. That is a chapter in a book that I wrote recently. And I've come to the conclusion, for a great team, and not a mediocre team, a great team, sports team, North Ward Center, our organization, whatever. To be a great team, I'll give you an example, Michelle. So the horrific accident happens when the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland collapses. I do this in one of my leadership seminars. I say, look, do you know the people who said, hey, wait a minute, there's a crisis happening because there's an accident. They saw it happening. They saw it was about to happen and the bridge was going to collapse. A sergeant, a patrolman, and another lower level law enforcement officer closed the bridge down. They didn't wait for anyone. They closed the bridge down at the last minute and saved countless lives. Why am I saying that? I argue that great teams great organizations need leaders to step up, not just people like you or others who take the initiative. Do you think that a great organization can just have followers?
Well, it all depends on how you define what a follower is. I mean, I do think it's important to have, let's not use the word follower. Let's use the word support team, okay? I think a great organization has support teams and people who are supporting the organization. And I do think that there has to be a level from the person that's running it to give license to other people to make decisions, to say, I feel like whatever decision you're going to make, I'm good with it. And I think that's what's missing right now when it comes to leaders. They're like, okay, I'm going to make the decision. Okay. And this is how it's going to go. And I've really gone away from that in the past couple of years. I'd say
you've evolved as a leader in that way.
I think I have. I'm much more into saying but it took a long time to get the people, that are supposed to be here. And I just ran. I'll give you an example. I just ran a pretty big program for autism with Regina Bell. She did a concert for Hope, and there would be absolutely no way that I could have done that without my support team. They ran it. They ran the entire thing, and they made decisions. They absolutely led. So they led in different ways, but they had it in their personality to do that. I don't know if you can teach it. You can support it.
Can you promote it and push it and encourage it?
You can promote it and push it, but if the person keeps on saying, well, I didn't know and I wasn't sure, and you have said over and over again to them, but I'm giving you license to do this, I want you to do this, and they don't do that, you got to get them out. My opinion.
Out of the organization.
100%.
We agree on.
Yeah. It's no help. The reason why I'm doing as well, or the center and the Center for Autism, I have great people around. The great leaders.
Let me also say this, to not just to Mary Gamba, but for everyone on our team. You know who you are. The credits will come up at the end of the show. You don't just do your job. Stay in your lane. You step up, you speak up, you challenge, you lead, you question, hey, why don't we do this? Why aren't we doing that? And that's what I said, not a mediocre team, but on a great team, everyone's got to be a leader. Hey, Michele, thank you for joining us, talking about leadership. Good luck to you and the team at the Northward Center and the Center for Autism. Steve Adubato, Michele Adubato. We'll be right back.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. All right, folks, got a few minutes left of Lessons in Leadership. Mary, tell folks what we do for these segments when we don't have a guest. How do we plan for that?
We plan by reading, continuously learning, looking outward, inward, talking to people. It's so great. Steve will often text me or send me a note and say, I want to talk about this the next time we're on Lessons in Leadership. So we just tuck it away for when we have this opportunity. And this is one of those opportunities.
Bring it up because I also shared this with Elvin and Frank. Elvin and Frank, come on. This is a Sunday morning email on an e-blast I get from Mike Reuter, our friend who we've known from Seton Hall University for years, professor of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
What is Mike's Sunday morning piece
called? Absolutely. It is called 3-Minute Leadership. And every Sunday you just get this little ditty. It's probably a 3-minute read. I guess that's why he calls it 3-Minute Leadership. But it's just information that you never knew that you needed. You read it and you just feel super empowered. This most recent one was 3-Minute Leadership on living with passion and purpose. And to me, this really resonated because if you don't have passion in your life and for the things that you're doing, why the heck are you doing those things?
So, Elvin, let me ask you, you're technically very good at what you do. Frank is not just very good, exceptional. Both of you are the best technically. Passion for what you do, Elvin?
Oh, Elvin's muted.
You're right. See, that's what happens when you're directing and trying to
He's
be on
passionate
air.
about being heard.
Do not edit that out. Okay.
Of course not. Of course not.
Of course not.
I'm definitely passionate about what I do. I love directing. I've never wanted to do anything else. Ever since I went to school for television, my plan was to be a director. And once I achieved that goal, this is where I'm happy at. I don't want to go any higher. It's not about the money. It's about what I do, and I love it.
I'll go to Frank in a second. How do you keep your passion? You've been doing it for more than a few years.
Well, my passion comes with the work. So I make sure that whatever clients I'm working for, we have the same vision. And it's not vision as far as editorially, it's vision as far as the art and the way I direct the program. If we can't be on the same board and the same page, I don't want to work for you.
Frank, your passion's been going even longer. Where's it come from, and how do you keep it?
I think the passion has been able to maintain itself for these 35 years because of variation between television audio, concert audio, studio audio, as far as mixing in studio, and the different forms that brings. That's what kind of ignites me regularly. I think too much of anything will either make you an addict or bore the heck out of you. The bottom line is there's variation, and that's what kind of kept me going all these years.
It's not the same thing, and Scarlett's behind the camera. It's not this. Your audio is not there. Could you keep that? Come on over here. So it's not this, Mary. I've often said this. I love interviewing people, but if I weren't writing these books and doing executive coaching and leading seminars and all this other stuff, I think I'd be bored too. I mean, I love this, but the variation. What about for you? It's from behind the camera. It comes here.
My passion comes from getting races and getting the Mets to win. No, I'm playing.
Hold on one second. As a lifelong, way longer than you, because I'm a lot older than you, I was a lifelong Yankee fan. He took my microphone to plug the Mets. That's
how you do
wrong.
it. That's how you do it.
Go ahead. Your passion comes from where?
It comes from recognition. When people recognize the job, the work that you're doing. When people say, "Hey, good job," you're doing an amazing job. That's what wakes you up in the morning and tells you, "Hey, you got to go to work and have fun."
Okay. Well, do you always have fun when we're together? Of course. Yeah. We'll keep talking about the Mets. See what happens. Mary, come on. You've said for a few years, and we say this all the time, you only have so much juice left. Where the heck's your I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
You know where my passion is. I am passionate. Yeah. Well, he hooks you up. I'm passionate about animal rescue. I hope to someday make the world a better place by rescuing animals. Animals do not have a voice. They can't help themselves. So
what about this?
I'm good at what I do, and I love working together with you, Steve. But to say that I'm passionate about this, that wouldn't be 100% truthful.
Alvin?
Is that wrong?
Don't bring Elvin into this.
Frank?
Yes.
She just hurt me.
Oh, don't act like we haven't had this conversation. I am very grateful for my opportunity to be able to work and grow and learn and evolve. So thank you for that, Steve. But my true passion, one day I will come back on this show in 20 years and let you know all the great animals that I've saved.
Well, let me just say this to Alvin, Frank, Scarlett, Mary, Sylvester on the back end, our team. I, unlike Mary, am living my passion every day. And no disrespect to animal rescue, I want to rescue media and communications and leadership.
That's great.
It makes absolutely no sense. I just made that up. Listen, I'm passionate about this team too, and especially when Elvin says, say goodbye. Goodbye, folks. Live your passion. See you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates, Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA, and New Jersey Business Magazine. CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.